Welcome to OLC4O. This is Term 2A, and this is Class 1. We're going to be looking at the study guide and the introduction today, and we're going to look at nouns and basic sentences. I am Jillian Percy. First, we're going to take a quick overview. I am not expecting anyone to know this off by heart. It's just kind of giving you a rough outline of when I think we will be covering assignments. Because this is my first time teaching this, sometimes assignments might take longer than I think, or might take a little bit less than I think. So this is just to give you, a rough outline of how to do this. Okay. So here is the study guide. We are in Term 2A. All this term from Monday to Thursday, I will be broadcasting from 5 to 6. Okay, welcome to OLC4O. This course is designed to help you acquire and demonstrate the cross-curricular literacy skills that are evaluated by the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test. If the course is successfully completed, it will meet the provincial literacy requirement for graduation and also be counted as a full credit in English. Throughout the lessons, you will develop the skills necessary to improve your English grammar and writing ability. So you should have received the following course materials in addition to the study guide. You should have Units 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you should have the novel Jimmy Comes Home or a photographed copy of it, one or the other. You can submit completed assignments to your instructor or the DEC. We actually prefer if you submit it to student work at nnec.on.ca. That way the secretary can log it in and it registers that we've done it, okay? If you don't have any of those materials, please contact me or the office and let them know right away so we can send things up. If you would prefer a digital copy, let me know that as well, because I do have the ability to send things up digitally. Alright, all of the unit assignments will be gathered together and it will be worth 70% of your mark. The culminating activity, which is a portfolio, is worth 10% of your mark. The final exam is worth 20% of your mark. Altogether, that equals 100. At the end of each week, try and send me all the work you've completed. Please try and send them in as soon as you get done. You do not have to wait until you've completed a whole lesson or unit. I really need to get work from you on a regular basis so I can make suggestions on how to improve your work. The other thing is, sometimes people try and hand me in the entire course in a week, and I can't possibly get it marked as quickly as people want because I have other people also submitting, right? So if you send me dribs and drabs and a little bit at a time, it is so much easier for me to send feedback and for you to make changes and just for it to work a lot better. If I don't have a proper contact number or email, please give me a phone call as soon as you can so that I am able to reach you if anything comes up, okay? Okay. This is for the previous, I'm not going to worry about that. If you can, by all means, call in and participate in the Zoom classes. It also gives you a great chance to ask me questions. You can always view live or recorded classes, I shouldn't say live, current or recorded classes on YouTube. It's under capital G, capital P, ERCY, space, capital W, AHSA. Now again, this is a tentative class schedule if you're doing the radio Zoom. Week 1, 2, and 3, we will be covering Unit 1. Week 4 and 5, Unit 2. Week 6 and 7, Unit 3. And Week 8 and 9, Unit 4. Unit 4 is actually pretty short, but some of the assignments are kind of tough. If you are an independent learning student instead, keep in mind that you still need to be done by June 13th. And again, you don't want to hand it in to me the day before 43 assignments. I won't be able to get everything marked in time, and that will cause problems. So please send things in as you complete them. Here are 5 ways you can stay organized. Read through the study guide to make sure you understand what the course is about. Contact me as soon as you start the course to introduce yourself and to say that you've received your course materials. The other thing is to hand in your very first assignment right away, and then I've instantly got something to mark and know where you're at and that you're planning to actually do assignments. Plan to attend class or view the class recordings on YouTube regularly. I know some people might still be at work, and that's fine. Can't always get to class. Use the websites that are listed in that lessons as long as you've got access to the internet. If you don't, again, notify me so I'm aware. And set your own goals for when you should finish each assignment. It's okay to make a goal and then change it later, but you do need a plan to start with. I find people just kind of like wait till they feel motivated. Sometimes you never feel motivated and then you end up kind of not getting it done. Where if you say, hey, I'm going to try and get 2 assignments done this week, and you kind of start to go and you realize it kind of works. Okay. Again, as I said, if you're doing this course as an independent study, you can set your own schedule. However, the term is done on June 13th. I have included a possible schedule that starts from February 5th in case you're just getting started and you want to kind of see how it would look. It still moves pretty quick, right? It's only 18 weeks, and the last 2 is not going to have much there. Hi, Linda. Welcome. How you doing? Are you able to hear me? Okay, it says participants can now see my screen. Good. I'm hoping that you can hear things as well. If not, maybe give the office a phone call and let them know. So tentatively, this is a schedule for independent learning students in Term 2A. In February, first week you could try and get to assignment 5, second week to assignment 9, third week to assignment 13, and then assignment 17. That is almost all of Unit 1. And then by March, you could work on assignment 18 and assignment 19. Assignment 19 is a big one, so you'll need a bit of time for that one. Then you've got March break. If you want to work ahead then, that is a great idea. Week 6, assignment 20 to 23. Week 7, assignment 24 to 27. Week 8, assignment 28 to 31. Week 9, assignment 32 to 34. Now, I start to get less assignments because these later assignments are just really long. So they will take you a lot longer to do. A35 has like 4 big questions. That's week 10. Week 11, A36, 37, 38, 39, they aren't all that long. And then when you get to May, A40 is pretty long, so is A41. Week 14, A42 has 3 parts. And then you've got A43, which is kind of a long essay in your portfolio. And then you've got your exam. And that just leaves you 2 weeks kind of extra at the end to finish things up or rewrite something, whatever you want to do. So this is a rough example. You do not have to follow this, but you can see you've got to get a fair bit of assignments done in order to get finished by June, okay? Contacting your teacher, we've kind of talked about this. The studio, which is where I am right now, 1-800-465-7144. The WASA office, which is where the secretary is 1-800-667-3703. My extension is 2211. If you're able to call during office hours, that's great. I'm usually here till about 6 or so. If you want to fax your work, that's fine. 1-800-463-7852. This is the student work we've already talked about. My personal email is jillian.percy@nanecschools.org. That's the best place really to reach me because I check that constantly throughout the day and I'll get back to you right away. Percy WASA works for both my Facebook and my YouTube. Facebook I only check occasionally, like maybe once a day, because I just don't have very many students that contact me that way. The YouTube, I post a class after I finish it. So I post morning and afternoon classes, and then Friday there's no classes posted. Please make sure that when you send assignments in, that you label it with your first and your last name, what community you're from, the course number, and the assignment number. Also, tell me if it's rough or the final draft. Okay. Also, this is an important note in sending the assignments through email. If you need to take a picture of your work, which happens sometimes, please make sure, send it as an attachment. Don't email me the work directly. I don't know why, but we have a really hard time seeing and printing it off properly when it's sent in the body of the email. So there's two ways to send it as attachment. The first way is probably easiest. Most phones will give you email options when you start to send the picture. Sorry guys, got a little bit of a coughing fit here. Please select email as an attachment, and in the email tell me what your course name, number, assignment number, and all that kind of stuff. Hang on a second, friends. I'm going to take a quick little detour here. Hang on.
Looking for study help you don't have to second guess? Chegg has millions of trustworthy...
Hello everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel.
That's not the one I was looking for. Sorry. Oh, hang on. Let me try. Hang on, friends.
Got home from camping last spring. Saw people, places, and things. We barely had arrived. Friends asked us to describe the people, places, and every last thing. So we unpacked our adjectives. I unpacked frustrating first. Reached in and found the word worst. Then I picked soggy and next I picked foggy and then I was ready to tell them my tale. 'Cause I'd unpacked my adjectives. Adjectives are words you use to really describe things. Handy words to carry around. Days are sunny or they're rainy. Boys are dumb or else they're brainy. Adjectives can show you which way. Adjectives are often used to help us compare things. To say how thin, how fat, how short, how tall. Girls who are tall get taller. Boys who are small can get smaller. Till one is the tallest and another's the smallest of all. We hiked along without care. Then we ran into a bear. He was a hairy bear. He was a scary bear. We beat a hasty retreat from his lair and described him with adjectives.
Whoa! Boy, that was one big ugly bear.
You can even make adjectives out of the other parts of speech, like verbs or nouns. All you have to do is tack on an ending, like ick or ish or eric. For example, this boy can grow up to be a huge man, but still have a boyish face. Boy is a noun, but the ending ish makes it an adjective, boyish. That describes the huge man's face. Get it? Next time you go on a trip, remember this little tip. The minute you get back, they'll ask you this and that. You can describe people, places, and things. Simply unpack your adjectives. You can do it with adjectives. Tell them about it with adjectives. You can shout it with adjectives.
Okay, so my apologies there. Had a little coughing fit. I was had pneumonia for a while and still kind of covering things. My apologies here. Okay, so G Suite. You may already have a Gmail account, but the moment you become a WASA student, we also make sure that you have a Gmail account. If you're not sure how to get there, please by all means call me or call the office and we will help you get set up. And there's kind of twofold. One, it's a nice, easy, free system. People can share things with me if they want to. The other thing is some of the assignments, it does ask you to like do it on a computer. There's one assignment where you're supposed to be doing things kind of as a brochure. It really does help to have the Google account if you can to complete some of the assignments, okay? Generally, they have first name, last name, the month, the day you were born, and then nnecschools.org. And then the password is generally WASA student. Again, if you have trouble, just let us know and we can get you set up. If you're wanting to use a word processing program, once you click, usually there's like a little circle here with your name. You can see mine up there. There's like the little brown Jill. And then if you see this little blue icon, it has little lines on it, it says Docs. That's a word processing program. I don't know if everyone's used it. It is a great tool for completing the good copy of your assignments. The only thing to be careful of with Google Docs is it overwrites. So if you do a bunch of changes and then suddenly go, oh, wait, I preferred the previous one, you can go back to version history and get it, but it is something to keep in mind. Usually if I know I'm going to rewrite something, I'll save a copy of the original so that I can just easily go back to that and then I make all the changes on my copy. Okay, so you would see something like this. Here is the blank. There's also things like a letter and a resume, which we're going to use later on. You'd come up with a blank page, and then you'd have all these little details. I feel like most people are probably used to this. Up here, you can give it a title. You can choose what kind of font you want. You can choose how big you want it. You can choose what color you want. This little icon helps you organize things on the page. You don't necessarily need all of these. It does not need to look fancy particularly as long as you're getting your work done. The other helpful thing with Google Docs is there's like a spell check and a grammar check, and that can help you out a little bit too. Okay. If we have time, I will do this at the end, but I'm going to kind of skip on and make sure I get everything covered for today first. If you do call in, try and make sure that you're listening and participating with the teacher and any other students. Pay attention to the material being studied and participate during the broadcast rather than working on earlier assignments. Don't surf the internet unless it's part of the on-air coursework, and work on current assignments when given the time on air to do so. Inform the teacher if you need to leave the room during a broadcast, just so I know that you're leaving. I'm kind of looking at what I'm presenting, so I don't always see right away if you've left or entered. Sorry, it's kind of still learning all about Zoom here. One thing to be super careful with when you're handing in assignments is plagiarism. Plagiarism is considered a really serious offense, and it occurs when you either copy or borrow words or ideas from a source without giving credit. So if you submit another person's work, or if you copy and paste from the internet without letting me know who you borrowed it from, or if you copy your answer directly from a textbook, that's all called plagiarizing. The other thing that's coming up we're finding is AI. AI is a computer writing your assignments, not you writing your assignments. So please do not use AI to try and change your assignments or improve them. I don't actually find it improves things that much. It really is not a huge loss. If I think that you have used AI to complete an assignment, I will give you a phone call and we'll kind of have to discuss it, okay? Keep in mind with writing, spoken language and written language are not exactly the same. When we're talking, we often speak in incomplete sentences because we're using our voice and our facial expressions to fill in gaps, and the listeners right there, they can ask more questions if they're confused. But when you write, your reader can't hear your voice or see your face or ask you any questions, so you kind of have to be more thorough about how you explain yourself and be able to use your words and punctuation marks in such a way that your reader can really understand exactly what you're thinking. The next point they're really coming up with is try not to use slang. Sometimes we're using standard versus non-standard English. If it's a thing, I will mention it. Since majority of our students are English as second language users, I'm very aware of that. It's not a huge issue as long as what you're writing is comprehensible. The other thing, a lot of times computers, we've kind of invented all sorts of little short forms like LOL or BRB for be right back. That's totally fine for doing email messages to me, but we wouldn't do it during our academic writing. Okay? We've talked about that. Please make sure that I can read your work. If you're able to write in pen, because some assignments ask you to do handwriting, please, the pen is nice and dark. It really shows up better. If you are using pencil, try and press really hard, because basically you've got to send it through, then it comes to my secretary, then it gets printed off. All those different changes can make it quite light. By the time it gets to me, it can be really hard to read. Obviously also don't include writing that has swears or obscenities or things that are rude, right? School behavior. This basically talks about what we've already talked about, but it's there if you forget as a referral. If you're needing any extra help with spelling and grammar, you can go here, or help with writing a resume. You can also check out YouTube. There's all sorts of great stuff on YouTube that help with spelling or grammar. Again, if you have trouble with internet, let us know. We can always send you up a USB recording of the classes, and then you could just put that in your computer or even like a PlayStation or Xbox, or if you've got a smart TV. For this, you would use the Zoom, and then you can join. Make sure you have join with computer audio so I can hear you. Like I said, it gets recorded. Please be mindful that if you put things in the chats, even if you're talking to somebody else, I won't see it at the time, but other people can see it later on once the whole class is finished. So you want to be mindful of that. Sometimes people aren't aware. All right, learning skills rubric. This is not a huge deal, but it does come up on your report card. It does not change any of your marks, and I feel like a lot of it is a little bit more suited to a classroom environment, but it is something to be mindful of. The first category is responsibility, and that way we're looking at whether you complete assignments or make up missed work or attends class or makes good use of class time. The big one for me is that you're finishing your assignments, and also maybe that you're being willing to redo assignments if the assignment kind of missed the mark and didn't quite meet the criteria. Organization, that one is 100% on you. For me, it doesn't impact that much. Hopefully you're able to keep your information organized, label it when you send it to me. If you need extra help, reach out to me or to the DEC in your community. Independent work. Now I want to make sure it's clear. You are totally welcome to call me or message me at any time asking for help with assignments. I do not count it against you for independent work. What they're thinking of is the kind of student that needs somebody to sit right next to them and help them do every single thing, or they can't get finished. That's not really the case with our classes. Anybody who's taking this class is going to be pretty independent, I think. Collaboration. That's another one that I don't really think applies here. It's mainly about working as a team, which we're obviously not doing a lot because we're independent learning. If you were online with me and there were other students there, the big thing there would just be making sure that everybody has a chance to talk and share their ideas and that kind of thing. Initiative, again, I feel like if you're taking the course, you're already showing initiative, because initiative is like looking ahead, looking for ways to take charge of things. If you're taking this course, you're already showing initiative in your life. Self-regulation, that's another one that I feel is kind of a classroom one. We're looking for people who can control their own behavior, not yell out, help others, that kind of thing. Again, not really relevant for us. So I'm showing it to you because I do have to put marks on your report card, and I want you to be aware of that, but it doesn't affect your grades. Like even if you got needs improvement for all of them, it's not going to bring your mark down even 1%, right? It won't affect anything. Okay. In the course pack, they introduce a whole bunch of grammar at once, and then they kind of never discuss it again. I don't really care for that format, especially for this particular course, which is intended to be kind of a review of the basics. Initially, I wasn't sure if I was really going to have to cover grammar, but then I find it's really hard to discuss ways to improve or what's wrong with a sentence if you don't know what the grammar terms mean. So if I say, well, this is an incomplete sentence, but you're not sure what that means, it's really hard for us to communicate, and it's kind of hard for you to make any changes. So After we did a bit of work last term, I realized we really need to tackle grammar kind of systematically. Again, you don't have to memorize everything, but it's here so that if there's a comment made or you're not sure of something, you can always refer back to it, okay? My goal is really to help you feel confident in your ability to write sentences and that you know they demonstrate good grammar and convey your meaning effectively. The conveying your meaning effectively is the biggest part. If you're making minor grammar mistakes, but they don't affect your meaning, I don't stress over it. I might correct it just so you're aware what it looks like. But again, I'm not going to bring your grade down just because you didn't put, a comma in the exact right spot. That's not what we're looking for here. We're just trying to make sure that you know how to express yourself. What is grammar anyways? People are kind of like, I don't even know what it is. Essentially, grammar is the structure or the system that every language has. Every language has grammar. What often happens is the one that we speak first as little kids is the one we get used to. And we're so used to talking it, we don't even realize the structure. It often only comes up when we start to try and learn a different language. Because if you try and translate one language to another, word for word, it often doesn't make sense. And the reason for this is because every language has their own way of structuring a sentence. And they convey information through different words, or through word order, or through word endings. So different types of information might indicate when an action happened, like the past, the future, who performed the action, the length of time it occurred, and all sorts of other things. So I find that for most people, the grammar is the part that is hardest about a new language, right? Vocabulary is just like, okay, well, we call this a table in English and a table in French. The hard part is knowing how to, put it in a sentence. If I want to say, hey, can I buy this table? That's a whole different thing. So this is going to seem a little bit fussy, and if this is not your thing, I apologize, just skip ahead in this. But I did want to explain this because I think it's really, really important. Most languages can be grouped into two main groups. This is like all over the world. Most languages are either analytical or they are synthetic. And they're two different ways of conveying meaning in a sentence. Analytical languages generally rely on word order and context to express their meaning in grammatical relationships. Synthetic languages use a lot of endings on words, those are called inflectional endings, to convey the same type of information. So in this post, we're going to explore the characteristics of these two language types and how they differ from one another. Analytical languages are also sometimes called isolating languages. And those are languages that use a strict word order, in other words, where the word occurs in the sentence to help convey meaning. Languages like English, Chinese, and Vietnamese are all examples of analytical languages. Each word typically represents a single concept, and the relationship between the words is determined by their position in the sentence. So, for example, in English, the sentence, "the cat chased the mouse," conveys the action of a cat chasing a mouse, with the subject is the cat, the object is the mouse, and we know the middle is the verb there. However, in synthetic languages, which are also sometimes called inflected languages, they use word endings to convey the relationship between words. So these are languages like Latin, Greek, Sanskrit, and German. In these languages, the ending of a word changes to indicate its grammatical role in the sentence. So for example, in Latin, the sentence "Filius Patrem amat," the son loves the father, conveys the same meaning as the English sentence above, but the relationship is conveyed through the endings of the words. So the main reason why this might be important is that, as far as I understand, Ojibwe, Ojibwe, and Cree are considered synthetic languages. And in synthetic languages, there's a few differences. One, verbs are very important, and subjects are not as important. Also, often to convey some of the information that English uses through subjects and stuff, they add inflectional endings to convey meaning, okay? So English is considered analytical language, but in most cases, the languages that are in this area are synthetic. That can be kind of the difficult sometimes with writing in a different language is, again, in this way, in, say, Ojibwe, they might use a word ending that indicates which person is a subject. In English, the person who's the subject has to come first before the verb, because that shows that they're the one doing the verb or doing the action. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're getting frustrated sometimes where you're like, oh, this isn't just kind of how I want to say it. Sometimes it's just because different languages say things differently, and that can be the tricky part. So don't worry about that. Don't stress. I find people generally do go along and do fine. This is just kind of one more thing. And I'm just talking about this because it really is kind of well, I think it's interesting anyways, because I'm kind of a language geek, but also I think it's important because it does help. Different languages may have different preferences for word order, and they may even include no preference at all. Like some languages, it really doesn't matter what order you put them in because the endings of the words give you all the information you need. So some main sentence parts that occur in most languages are subject, object, and a verb. English generally prefers them in this order. First the subject, then the verb, then the object. What they sometimes call SVO. And it would sound like I love him. I is the subject, love is the verb, O is him, object. But other languages might use a different order. Some might use subject, object, verb, so she, him, loves, or verb, object, subject, loves him, she, or object, verb, subject, him, loves, she. Some languages, such as synthetic ones, may use endings to show which word is the subject and which is the object. And that means, like I said, that the word order won't matter. And why are we looking at this? Because if English is a second language for you and your language is a little bit different into what word order they use, you may find English sounds a little bit weird sometimes when you hear it or you write it because it's just not quite doing it the same way that you're accustomed to doing it. If that happens, again, don't worry about it. I'm totally aware that it's there. But you may find that you're having to mentally translate not just the words, but the order that you want to put them in. That can be a challenge for some people, and it can be frustrating. So if you find yourself getting frustrated, because we do a lot of writing assignments, please just remember to be patient with yourself, okay? I am not a hard marker. I am not looking for mistakes. I am 100% behind you and want everybody to succeed. And I am totally aware that these can be issues. I may point them out to you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're losing a lot of marks for those issues, okay? So here in English, this is what they sometimes call like a sentence kernel or a very, very, very basic sentence. There's two main parts to a basic sentence in English. First of all, there has to be the subject, and second of all, there has to be a predicate. Ideally, you could have a two-word sentence. I mean, not ideally, but theoretically. You wouldn't normally do it, but it does exist. The subject has to tell you who or what is the main actor or the main topic in the sentence. And the predicate tells you what the subject is doing. And again, we talked about word order. So the subject is going to come before the predicate in English. It just kind of has to. So here are some examples of basic sentences. Dogs run. Dogs is the subject. Run is the verb or the predicate. He fell. He is your subject. Fell is your predicate. Birds fly. Birds is your subject. Fly is your predicate. Susan tripped. Susan is your subject. Tripped is your predicate. Monsters lurk. Monsters is your subject. Lurk is your predicate. Now, the last one said originally, it said John is. Is that a basic sentence? No, because John is not a complete thought. John is what? John is wet, cold, funny, mean. I have to complete the thought. So I can only do the two-word sentence if it's telling me everything I need to know about the subject. So that's something to be careful of as well. Okay, so we are going to kind of quickly discuss nouns. This is one of those basic concepts that I think most people actually know, but it's always best just to review it and make sure we're all on the same page. Most sentences are a lot more than two words. Subjects must have a noun or a pronoun, or sometimes a phrase or a clause acting as a noun or pronoun, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. Essentially, nouns are naming words. They tell you the name of people, places, things, concepts, or ideas. That's the last part is the tricky part. Here are some examples of nouns. People, things like mom, nurse, Dr. House. firefighter, Jackie, and dentist. Places could be like a place like a store or a Sioux Lookout, but it could also be like a place you'd visit, like the ocean or a restaurant or an office or a baseball field. Things and objects are usually, I always think of them as things you can touch. They're not necessarily always touchable, like the sky isn't touchable, but they're concrete, right? Pen, chair, flower, rock, poles, wood. Concepts and ideas are trickier. They're what's called an abstract noun. So you can't really touch it. It's more like an idea that we've named so that we all agree on what it means, right? So if I'm talking about sadness, we know kind of what feelings that encompasses and how people might look. It's not 100%, but I don't have to hand you a bowl of sadness for you to know what I mean. We all kind of agreed sadness is the idea for that particular feeling. So other examples are things like beauty, democracy, excellence, popularity, and respect. Now, we also have common nouns versus proper nouns. This isn't the kind of thing that is all that important, except you need to know that if a specific name comes up in your writing, you need to make sure it has a capital. So like boy doesn't need a capital, but if his name is Jonathan Smith, his first letter in his name and the first letter in his last name need to have a capital. City doesn't need a capital, but Winnipeg would need a capital W because it's the name of a city. River is fine. Detroit River needs a capital on Detroit and a capital on River. Car, no capital. Ford Focus, yes, capital on both the words. Restaurant, no capital. Kelsey's Restaurant, and all of a sudden you can see not only does Kelsey's need the K, but restaurant needs the R because it's part of the name of that place. So school doesn't need a capital. But if I'm talking about Sioux North High School, all four of those words need a capital because that's the name of the place. Book doesn't need a capital. Jimmy Comes Home, all three words need a capital. So that's something to keep in mind just when you're working on capitalization skills. Okay. Singular nouns. This is one thing that comes up a little tiny bit. Singular nouns usually have an article in front of them in English. This is not true in all languages, but it is true in English. Singular just means that the noun is only one of something. There's no more than one. So like one boy, one plate, one fork. Singular nouns generally need an article in front of them. The articles are these three words. They're the only articles in English. A, and, the. Plural nouns might use the article the, like the team. It's still talking about a bunch of people, but it's introduced that way. It's fine. But you cannot use a or an with plural nouns. So for example, a desk broke. I couldn't just say desk broke. In English, it's just not considered proper. I have to have an article in front of it. The trees fell. That is totally fine. I could also say trees fell. Either one works because it's a plural. I don't know why it should make a difference, but I just know that it does. Sorry. Indefinite articles. A or an. These show you that there's only one of something and they're non-specific. So if I said, I need a desk, it could be any desk, right? It could be small, tall, long, big. I just need something to write on, right? If I said, bring me the desk, then that implies that you know what desk I'm talking about. There's one and only one that I want. Sometimes we use an, and it's only ever used when we have a vowel at the beginning of the next word. So an apple, mainly because apple just sounds funny in English. An owl, an avalanche. And remember the vowels are A, E, I, O, U. Definite article is the. This is specific item. Instead of just wanting a pen, I want the pen with the gold handle, or the pen my boyfriend gave me for Christmas, that kind of thing. It can be used, as we said, with singular or plural. I bought the chair we looked at yesterday. I bought the chairs we saw. I don't know why the can be used with both and a and can't, but it just cannot be done, sorry. Adjectives can also be a part of the complete subject. They come right before the noun normally, not always. There are some other ways I'll show you later on. Adjectives can also describe how something looks, smells, feels, tastes. I could describe how many there is of something. A subject could include an article plus an adjective plus a noun, and that would be called like a noun phrase, or sometimes we would call that the complete subject or the whole subject. So here are some examples of some noun phrases that include adjectives and or articles. So the crazy is, here's my article, here's my adjective. Monkey is my noun. Ripe and red, I've got my article and my two adjectives. Apple is my noun. The old is my article, my adjective. Skyscraper is my noun. 8 is my adjective. Rowers is my subject. Different is my adjective. Coats is my noun or my subject. Again, in English, very common to have the subject right at the beginning. So, and this is kind of already done for us. Well, that's okay because I'm running out of time here anyways. Simple and complete subjects. I feel like this isn't going to come up too often, but sometimes if I'm asking you, can you please make sure that your sentence has a subject? What sometimes happens is people want to look at the very beginning, and if they don't see a noun or a pronoun right there, they're nervous that maybe they didn't include a subject, and they get a little bit worried. So I'm just trying to show you that subjects might not be the very first word in a sentence. They might be part of a larger phrase. But what will happen is they'll come before the verb. Okay, assuming we're talking about a simple sentence. So wolves howl. Wolves is your complete subject. It's also your simple subject because there's only one word. A pen fell. The whole phrase, a pen, is your complete subject. Pen is your simple subject. The desks broke. The desks is my complete. Desks itself is the simple subject. The old smelly building collapsed. The whole yellow phrase is my complete subject, but only the word building is my simple subject. The sneaky red fox is my complete subject, but just the word fox is my simple subject. The beautiful little girl skipped. The whole phrase is my complete, girl alone is my simple one. The dangerous Mr. Stevenson, the whole thing is my complete, his full name, Mr. Stevenson, not just Stevenson, is my simple subject. Oh, and this was I was supposed to do with you, but you can see it. Again, I'm talking about simple sentences. There are other sentence formats where it won't be so obvious, but we're starting with the simple and we're gradually working up to the more difficult. Okay. Some sentences might have a compound subject, or in other words, two nouns that are both the topic or both doing the action in the sentence. So dogs and cats love to run. They're what's called a compound subject. There's two things, but they both love to run. Hot dogs and hamburgers, two things, but they're both being cooked. Jason and Kevin, two people, but they've both just arrived for the party. Desks and chairs, two objects, but they both need to be cleaned. Chocolate and strawberry, two flavors, but they're both her favorites. They can also have adjectives. Again, when we talked about how some people aren't sure if they've written a subject or not, this is sometimes where it can get a little bit tricky. Creepy monsters and scary ghosts were out for Halloween. So the monsters and the ghosts are my simple subject, but they're together because they're combined. I've got a compound subject. Both the monsters and the ghosts are out. Crunchy chips and creamy dip is my favorite snack. What's wrong with that? Well, what's wrong with that is chips and dip are two things, and two things don't use is for their verb. They have to use the word are instead. See, I think I originally wrote that with just one noun. I forgot. All right, so we fixed that now. Chips and dip are my favorite snack. That sounds better. The little black cat and the big brown dog played together. So my compound subject is cat and dog, and they're both playing together. Okay. Again, this is just something that might come up in some of your essays where you're just kind of looking things over and you're not sure. So that's why I'm kind of going into these details. Now, sometimes a subject might be a pronoun. Remember that a pronoun replaces a noun in a sentence, and the subject pronouns are I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. These are the ones that you'll see before a verb. There are other pronouns that we use at other places in the sentence, but these are the ones that you will see that act as a subject. I ran to the store. You are allowed to come over. He went fishing. She is on the porch. We can eat now. They are going to the garbage dump. Okay? Those are perfectly valid as a subject. Okay. I'm just going to take a quick look ahead and see how much I've got. Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I've got about 6 minutes left and I got 2 slides, so we'll be okay. Look at these simple sentences. Do they have a subject or not? Some of these might not. I deliberately wrote some incomplete sentences. Highlight the subject if it has one. So remember that in English it has to have a subject. If it doesn't, it's considered incomplete. And if you were writing and proofreading your own work, you would need to add a subject. So the sentence, she cries, is there a subject there? Yeah, the pronoun she is our subject, right? Okay, I'll just underline, it's probably easiest. Going swimming, is there a subject? Well, no. I don't know who is going swimming or what is going swimming. It could be me and all my friends, or it could be the dogs dived in. I have to give it a subject. So I'm just going to say like we. I could put we in front here. I'm going to fix it. We are going swimming. Peter and Daniel like to fish. What's my subject? Well, Peter and Daniel are both have the same feeling about liking to fish. Watching the fireworks. Is there a subject? No, there's no person or object doing the action. Who is watching the fireworks or what? Right? Maybe the baby's watching the fireworks, but maybe the bird is watching the fireworks. Who knows? I am happy. Is there a subject? Yes, the pronoun I is your subject. The little green snake slithered away. Is there a subject? Well, it's kind of hidden in the noun phrase, but little green and then snake. Snake is our subject. Typed a message. Is there a subject? No, because it tells me something's typing or someone's typing, but I don't know who's typing. Is it my mom, my boss, my friend? I don't know. I've got to say who's typing. The nurse is coming back. Is there a subject? Yes, the nurse, right? Climbed a tree. Is there a subject? No, because I don't know who or what climbed the tree. It could be my little brother climbed a tree. It could be the squirrel climbed a tree. If I don't tell you that information, you don't have a clear idea of what's going on. This is a major grammatical component that I do look for. And I find as we're writing like paragraphs and stuff, it gets trickier. Sometimes people just kind of start with the verb because that's the part that's kind of important to them, and they forget to write I or we or my family. So keep an eye out for subjects in your sentences. All right, this is our last one. I've only got 3 minutes left. Can we add a subject to these incomplete sentences? So all of these are missing a subject. We can add a noun or a pronoun or a noun phrase. It has to come before the verb. And in all of these sentences, I just kind of started with the verb. That's kind of easy. It can often come at the beginning of a sentence. So I could say, so went home. Well, who went home or what went home, right? I could say, my big brother went home. Now, I would change that big W to a small w because now it's in the middle of the sentence. It's not the first word. Now, talking about it might not be at the beginning of the sentence. Here's an example of a more tricky sentence. If I said, after my dad died, I felt sad. So now this part is kind of a what we call part of a subordinating clause, which is part of a complex sentence. But over here, I is my subject and felt. This is a bit tricky, which is why I haven't tackled these. We're going to stick to more simple ones, but this is the other spot where I find people get a little bit nervous, and sometimes they'll forget that subject there. Fished out by the second narrows. Okay, so I know what they're doing. They're fishing, but who is fishing? Okay, I'm going to say maybe my whole family. Maybe everybody is out there fishing. flew to Thunder Bay for a medical appointment. Who? Who flew to Thunder Bay? Well, maybe my shoe miss. My shoe miss flew to Thunder Bay for a medical appointment. Got a job. Okay, so we know what they did. They got a job. Who, though? Who got a job? Let me think. I don't know. Maybe mom got a job. All right, maybe she wasn't working before, took time off to be with the baby, but now she got a job. Made some moose stew for supper. Okay, well, who made the moose stew? Right, maybe it was Kukum. All right, and I know sometimes people spell this differently. This is just how I've seen it spelled. If you spell it differently in your community, that's all fine. I don't worry about those kind of things. Tried to clean up the yard. Well, who tried to clean up the yard? Maybe the kids did. Right? Maybe they made a mess and mom's coming home, and so they tried to clean up the yard. So I'm working at the sentence level here because it's easier to show you at the sentence level, but we begin working tomorrow with paragraphs, so we'll kind of have to look at it in the paragraph format. I know this is a bit dry, but I didn't want to tackle the first assignment because it's kind of a big one, and I didn't want to try and tackle it on the first day. Take a look ahead. It's basically talking about the grandfather teachings. So if you want to take a quick look on YouTube for anything on that, or maybe you're super familiar, and that way you can take a look at the assignment and know what we're going to be tackling. I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and we can run through that assignment then. Thank you so much for coming out.